Okay, so what we're going to do is compute what's called a 95% confidence interval for a mean. Remember, the mean's got a symbol of mu. To do that, we need some data. The data we're going to use are these values right here, which are 22, 56, 48, 98, 78, 12, and 3.2. In order to compute this confidence interval, we need to actually have some statistics computed from our data. I've already done that. We found out that the sample mean for our data is 45.314. Our sample standard deviation for our data is 35.101, and our sample size is 7. Now, to go ahead and make this thing called a confidence interval, what you'll do is you go under Stats, you'll go over to Tests, you'll go down to the 8th option, which is called the T-interval. Now up at the top you have two different options here. One says Data, one says Stats. Based upon what I've given you so far, you can actually use either one of these. We're going to start with the Stats option. Okay. I'm opening up the Stats option, and what you'll notice is it has a listing here of X bar, SX, N, something called C level, and then calculate. Okay. What goes in X bar is actually your sample mean of your data, which is 45.314. What goes in the SX is the sample standard deviation, which is 35.101. Okay. Your N is your sample size. In this case, it's 7. We have 7 data values. This thing called C level, that's actually this percentage sitting right here. It stands for confidence level. So whatever you have sitting there is what you can type in. And you can type it in as a 95, or you can type it in as a 0.95. If this number was, say, 90%, you'd type in 90. If it was 80%, you'd type in 80. If it was 99.99%, you'd type in 99.99. Anyway, you'll go down, you'll hit on Calculate, and what it'll pop back up at you is a little interval right here. So under that T-interval option, right, you'll actually get your answer, which is two numbers. It's 12.851 and 77.777. So that's how you compute a 95% confidence interval, but if you wanted 80% or anything else percentage, you just change the things a little bit. Now, another way you can actually use this option here to make the confidence interval, especially if these weren't already computed. I already gave you these numbers, so you didn't have to type in the data here. But supposing you weren't given X bar and all that, you just come in and make up a list of your data: 22, 56, 48, 98, 78, 12, and 3.2. So you'd type in your data. You'd do the same thing. You'd go Stats, you'd go over to Tests, you'd go back down to that thing called T-interval. Okay. And in this case, you don't have to change anything on the stats thing. We put in the data. We'd go over to the data option. We hit enter on it. We just have to tell it where our data is. I put the data in L1. You just have to tell it the confidence level you want. I didn't have to change anything there because I wanted 95, and that's what was there already. But if I wanted a 90 or 99 or some other number for a confidence level, whatever that percentage is that goes there, I'd change that there. I'd say calculate. It'll think a little bit, and then it comes up with the same exact thing. Now, there will be times where you might try to do it both ways, and I might not agree totally. That's just because you probably rounded these numbers a little bit, and when the calculator does everything straight from the data, it doesn't have to round anything at all. Right? So that's how you can make a 95% confidence interval. I'll show you the formula in class. Okay, later. Bye.